And welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
Hanging in there, Rob. Just trying to stay out of the heat. It's scorcher right now.
It is quite warm in sunny Southern California, although yes. I guess it's warm all over the country, so we're not alone. It is.
I was in Sacramento and Vegas, and nothing was under 100. I mean, 100 was actually doing really well, but 117, 118 was what it climbed to. And man, that was some hot days.
Yeah, Vegas is no joke when it comes to the heat. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So we have a subject this week that I guess came from one of your friends, because I remember you told me at the end of the show last week off the air. So then, and I threw it out on our socials, and some friends of mine actually came back. It was, what changed your feelings for someone you were madly in love with? And well, I think that that's probably very common at some point in your life.
Absolutely.
Whether it's young or maybe when you're a little older.
Mm-hmm.
I love some of the people who listen to our show because they're brutally honest when they leave messages behind. A friend of mine on my personal Facebook, only because when I post, it goes to all my socials. So I posted that this was a show that was coming up for the week, and she said, opening my eyes and not listening to the fantasy relationship I had created in my own mind. I was being mentally and physically abused. Once I saw what I was really in, I was able to end what never should have started.
Ooh, it's a hard one.
Yeah, I think, look, the whole mentally abused and physically abused obviously are two totally different stories. When they're combined, it's a whole other menagerie of craziness. Mm-hmm. Physically abusing, no one should stay in. I think that that's a crazy thing, whether you're madly in love with somebody or not. And definitely not the first time I've heard it from friends or people in my life.
Right.
I have a friend who was in an abusive relationship physically for many, many, many years, as well as someone who was in a mentally abusive relationship for like almost 17. So if not, actually probably more, because I think she was in it. She got out of it after 17. I think it was mentally before that. So I think those are obvious reasons to get out of it.
Absolutely.
And whether you're madly in love or not, I think being madly in love makes you very blind.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean? Like,
it does.
It's easy to make you blind when you see things like that. The next one is a whole other thing. A buddy of mine who I used to work with in the 90s, he says, when the guy she was screwing on the side called me to complain she was cheating on him. So my friend was, he assumed he was the boyfriend,
the main guy. Yeah.
Right. So the other guy, who also thought he was the main guy,
right,
called him and said, hey, leave my girlfriend alone. That is fucking bonkers.
That's rough.
I would almost not know how to take it based on feeling bad for the other dude.
Well, I think, and that happens to women all the time. I mean, I've heard that so many times over the years. And it's funny because the women like hate each other at first, and then they realize they were both scammed or taken, for granted. Mm-hmm. And then they end up being friends. I've heard of that so many times. It's kind of an interesting thing. And they realize they have more in common with them, just the person that was screwing around on them. But yeah, that's a hard one.
I've heard the same thing, that you become friends out of misery, because you both ended up being the butt of the joke or the person getting worked. And it's much easier to latch on to someone who you have the exact same kind of feeling at the time. So that would drive me bonkers for one. And I would almost go like, dude, I'm sorry, but I thought I was the guy, and I'm sure he said the same.
No, I'm sure.
I mean, the only winner in that is two people, both guys.
Yeah,
like,
they figured it out and got away from her.
Yeah, like, because obviously, who knows how many other people were being played?
That's true.
For me, I don't understand people that are in more than one legitimate relationship. Like, working on one is hard enough. Could you imagine hiding two different people from each other and having to come up with the most outrageous scenarios to, keep your life separate?
Well, it makes you wonder too, like, weren't the guys really using their head? I mean, there wasn't any tales of her doing this, that it could go on for so long that, you know what I mean? It's like, what were these guys doing that they weren't paying attention?
You're madly in love.
Yeah, but if you're paying attention, people, you know.
I mean, yes, at some point, generally people slip up. But I think in this case, that's both of them still thought they were the one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and again, I didn't ask how long into the relationship. So maybe it was early in the relationship and it was, it
doesn't sound like it was. That takes some planning.
Yeah, it doesn't. But I'm trying to play, the story out. Who knows?
Don't play.
Who knows? I totally get it. When you're madly in love with somebody, it is easy to be blind to a lot of things.
Or to just let shit fly. I mean,
true. No, that's true.
I think we've all done that in our lives where we're with somebody and we just don't want to rock the boat, so we don't.
Yeah, you keep things that are maybe not as bad, and you go, that one I can let go. And I can let this one go. And then I can let that one go.
Well, I don't really think you think of it like that, because if you think of it, it's bothering you enough that you should say something. But I think that if you get signs and you're too busy to pay attention, you just let it slide. I see that happening a lot. Like, I've done that. I think everybody does that. It's not just somebody that's being cheated on.
I'm guessing more in the dating world, to me, that this would happen. The having something happen to you that makes you madly, because you're madly in love. I think once you're in a legitimate relationship and decide maybe you're going to move in with each other, it's going to take something outrageous to make you fall out of love. I think, when you're madly in love and blind and to, some things that you would just are letting go, that's when it hits you, when it's a dating thing, I think. But, I'm kind of it takes a lot for me, because like I fall pretty hard. So, I would be like, I don't think I've ever fallen out of love with someone that I was like madly in love with the exception of maybe age, right? I aged out of it because, I think our friend, when I was 18, I was goo-goo. Like, I mean, I was goo-goo, like just brr. I mean, yeah, she could have tried to stab me and I probably would have looked past it. But I've been like, nah, it was a mistake. She slipped, like trying to find a reason. Thankfully, she decided to join the military and move off and do her own thing, and so I didn't have to worry about that. And maybe that's why it was easier for me, because she decided that it was just, she had to go on with life. So, but, that madly in love thing gets you in a lot of trouble. It'll eat you alive. And
And you do stupid things like that you wouldn't normally do in normal situations because you are in love. You let things slide. You turn against friends, family. Like I've seen people do some crazy things when they love somebody, and definitely they could have thought a little bit more about it. But when it's new and it's exciting, it happens.
Right. I agree with you about the turning on friends and family, though. I've definitely seen that. I've seen friends look the other way of other friends and just like, okay, I gotta, yes, I made this, and this, but I have to go to this plan instead. Or, and I get it. You're mostly if you're trying to piece together a relationship in the beginning, you're like, hey, my friend should be there no matter what. I have to try to make this relationship work. Or I've seen it tear families apart when relationships get very serious.
Yeah.
Where you have to decide almost between your significant other and how your family thinks. So I get it. But I think it's a lot harder to, see what changes, right? Because usually it's something that changes your feelings. So I generally think it has to be pretty hard or pretty major. I'm hoping it's not these little small things of like, again, I always go back to the socks on the floor, right? If socks on the floor are changing how madly in love with you or madly in love you are with somebody, you were never madly in love. I think it's seeing past the major things and it's going, okay, how can I say this without looking past something that might not even be with you? Like I could be madly in love with somebody and they choose someone else. And to me, my feelings haven't changed. I just understand that maybe I wasn't the one.
Right. I think that's maturity and just going around the block a few times. You get you figure things out as you grow up or grow older. Life experiences definitely will teach you things that you don't have when you're in your 20s.
Right. Yeah, it makes you go, hey. So in my case, I don't think I've lost feelings. I just understand that, look, there's circumstances involved in everything. But I'm going to guess that cheating is probably reason number one of why it would happen. And it should be obvious why, because most people think if I'm madly in love with this person and they are madly in love, quote unquote, the only thing that's going to stop that feeling is cheating or cheating. That's the best way of putting it. I could say going outside the relationship, but if you're in that, you've already decided. But I think the other things that will stop or will change feelings for people are the outside things like family, talking to other people. Not in my case.
Sorry. I was talking today to someone that said that the reason that he left and finally decided to leave his relationship was physical abuse. Like she came at him and he didn't fight back. But after it was over, he was like, that was more disrespect than I could deal with. And I'm done with you.
Yeah. Because there's a roadmap for the future. You know what I mean? It's if once physical abuse starts, it's a slippery slope from then on. So for me, I'm very upfront about that. Like, do not hit me, whatever you do, because it's a no-win situation for most people, right? I know we've talked about it before, but if a smaller woman is throwing punches at me, I'm damned if I hit her, right? Now I'm horrible. But I'm a big guy. So let's say I wrap my arms around her and hold her down on the bed. I'm just making her more mad. So when I let go of her, she's like a fucking hornet that's now really mad. So
exactly.
You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Obviously, you don't want to hit anybody. So I'm like, look, go to another room, separate, sit on opposite sides, break whatever the fuck you want to. That's yours. Just
that's yours.
That's yours. Hey, because look, because I hate to say women are crazy. Men generally don't break shit that's not theirs. They just get mad and break shit. Women will go out, pick up your PlayStation and fucking throw it on the ground because they know it's going to hurt you more. And to me, that's just crazy shit. That's like, that would make me go, okay, I'm done. Because you're doing something out of spite instead of doing it out of anger. There's a difference between you're arguing in the kitchen and there happens to be a spoon on the counter and now I throw it.
Right.
But marching out of the kitchen, around the corner, down the hall to the living room and picking up the PlayStation and slamming it on the ground because you know it's going to incite even more crazy.
You're asking for it.
You're just asking for me to pack my bags. Go, okay, I'm done.
Or get slapped.
That
will make a man come after you. I remember when I was 18, I had a horrible date with a guy that I had been with for quite a while. And he had just acted like a freaking idiot. We got back to the house. I was pissed. He was pissed. We were acting like fools. He said something stupid. I picked up a trophy and I hurled it at him. And it was like head over foot going at him. He deflected it. And the next thing I know, we were in a full-blown fist fight. And I did not come out the winner. And I provoked it. Like I could have just stayed gone. You know, I just leave, just walk away, just do whatever you do. But at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, do you really do that? Like, no, you go after a person. So I'm still friends with this person to this day. And we talked about it. And I was like, what a dumbass I was. Like, I deserved what I got. He definitely is apologetic and was like, I can't believe I did that to you. I was so sorry. But you don't incite a man to come at you as a man would. Being a woman, you shouldn't push a person to that degree. So I felt like I owed him an apology too, because I let that rip. I did.
Right. Yeah, I think that either side should never try to incite anything. You're just pushing people to a breaking point. And
for sure.
No matter how madly in love you are, there's always a breaking point.
Yeah.
Which I think is obviously the nature of the beast when it comes to personalities and how people are, which is no matter how madly in love you are, you have to see people for who they are and understand within the confines of this little thing we call a relationship, how easily you can get outside the bounds of people quite quickly. For me, it probably takes a lot because I'm pretty easygoing and I would like to tell you that I communicate well because I'm to a point now where I'll just say whatever the hell is on my mind. Because there's sitting on your hands and going, okay, I'll just take this one. I'm just going to take this. And it builds in everyone. And then people snap.
Right. For sure.
Then you end up with someone packing all their shit and throwing it in a car and never talking with each other ever again. I'd rather go, hey, this is how I feel. This is where I'm at. How do we fix it? Because
how often does that happen though, really?
It's very, very, very rare.
Yeah.
I would probably say better in our age group now. I think that as you get older, you get
Less fire in your belly.
Less fire in your belly, but you try to see
the other
where
point of view.
One point of view and where the fight might go. If you say something shitty instead of just going, hey, this and this and this, how can we step back so neither of us are fighting with each other or leaving? Because I mean, look, I've talked to, my friend where she's been left at a dinner. This fool got up during dinner and left and didn't come back.
Wow.
Yeah. The same couple were at a bar. There was a guy telling her, hey, you're very pretty. This guy, again, saw what happened and left.
What the hell? Is he so weak that he can't handle somebody saying something to her? What the hell?
Maybe that there could be an issue there as well. That I don't know, because I really don't dig deep in with their relationship. But like I had told her, like I'm the guy who would have walked up and been like, hey, did he buy you a drink yet? Because if you don't, tell him we're at table 3 and he can send one over. Like I'd be that dick. I'd be like, bro, you can buy her drinks all day. She's still going home with me.
Right.
So it's irrelevant. So you're good. Have at it. And you can tell her she's pretty because she is. And she's still going home with me. So, you can do it how you wish. But to me, those are the building blocks of losing feelings for someone you're madly in love with. Oh, shit like sure. That. I couldn't imagine. I guess same couple were at the beach hanging out. Something came up. There was a text message that came from someone who much younger, and I mean a lot younger, through her daughter, a friend. Guy flips out, walks out in the middle of nowhere in an hour and a half or 2 hours from where we live, and just left and never came back. She had to drive home. And like, so to me, these are the things that would kill me. I'd be like, okay, no. If you'd leave one time with me, after that, it would be done. Be like, no, that's childish shit. Be a man up. If you're pissed at her, you don't, first of all, if you're mad at someone like that, you don't yell at him in front of everybody.
For sure.
It's the first thing you don't do. Handle the situation like the one with the guy. Like I said, I'm that kind of dick. I would have made him just feel small. And then I would have walked back to the table and I'd have waved like, hey, drop the drink here and we're good. And then went on from there. And then I would have, said something to her like, hey, look, whatever happened, I overreacted or, whatever, but let's not take this the rest of the night. Because I've seen that too. We've all been at a place where either at dinner or a bar, mostly a bar, sitting back, watching the couple in the background. And you're with your friends going, this is where the shit gets crazy. Like, right. Like
get the popcorn.
Yeah. Cause you know, it's happening. It's going crazy over there. And you can see it building, right? It's like a staircase. She jumps up, he jumps up, and then the friends around them will be like, her girlfriend will say something or tell the guy. And then I've been with my friend, we were watching a game and I was like, this shit's going to get out of fucking control. And we were way far away. So we didn't hear the conversation, but we were both, putting the words in their mouths from way far away. Right. So, I'm playing the dude and he is playing the girl and he's like, you've done this and you stared at her and blah, blah. And I was like, it's crazy how that kind of shit happens in public, probably way more than it should.
Mm-hmm. Especially in a bar, like 9 times out of 10, if you're in a bar, you could find some sort of relationship drama, some
Mm-hmm.
sort. There's
Oh, for sure.
always something good going on.
Yeah. It's well, alcohol is the
Mhm.
beginner of that. Those are to me are the building blocks of an easy way to lose the feelings for the people you're madly in love with, because it's slowly taking your soul away from you, right? Whatever that
Oh, it's
burning heart
definitely
is in your
riding your
chest.
patience,
Yes, which is taking those, whatever, if you believe in the soul and the heart and that they work together, it'll take that and it'll break you down to the point where the person that you fell in love with is far, far gone.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they probably aren't. It's just these small things that you can't get over because of whatever. And like I said, the guy who had the other guy call and say, stop hitting or stop messing around with my girl is crazy, but I'm sure it happens more often than we think. We're in a small circle. And I think as you get a little older, hopefully you aren't playing games like that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's more work to play those type of games than it's worth. I would rather just be in a relationship and be like, look, what do you want? What do I want?
Are you really getting a satisfying relationship if you're always looking for the next best thing or somebody else, or there's more than one person in that spotlight? I don't know that you really do, because that's an intimate part of a relationship. And if you're not tapping into that because there's always somebody else there, you're missing a big portion of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. You probably hear a lot more of the craziness because of being in the hair industry. You're doing hair.
Just being a woman too. I mean, my dad was saying today, he goes, why is it that everybody tells you things? You have a story for everything. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering why that is, but I guess because I like to talk to people. So they definitely will talk back, and being a hairdresser and doing hair, and it's an intimate sort of vibe. So I'm sure people open up to me more than most because of that too. But yeah, I hear a lot. I had a friend, the one that started this podcast idea. He told me that, I guess he met a girl and he was with her for a few months and it didn't work out and they broke up. And then she came back pregnant 4 months later, which tells me that she either was sleeping with somebody else or she waited until that 4-month was over so she couldn't have an abortion. So he wouldn't tell her to do something, because women like to show up late. Mm-hmm. And he had to make things right enough to raise these kids. And, how he was like, God, it was too late. Like, I wish I would have stopped the relationship sooner. She wasn't for me. They have a really it's just trouble. I don't know how else to put it. It's trouble. Their relationship is trouble. The kids are involved. And he was like, why from the get-go didn't I even get a paternity test? Like, we should have started there instead of, now it's all these years later and he's trying to figure out, are these kids even mine? And why am I putting up with this bitch that I never loved? I mean, they didn't get to the point where they loved each other. Mm-hmm. They broke up, and he has to deal with her for the rest of his life because of these kids. And then on top of it, the poor guy got twins. Like, how bad does your luck need to be that you get double slapped, from a bad situation? I feel for him, but at the same time, then I also say, and you also have 2 kids that love you and you could work with that. You know what I mean? So I feel for him in one aspect, but then another, I'm like, is it really that bad? Because, you have kids.
Yeah. I mean, look, she's
crazy.
Anytime you fall in love, you're gambling, right? Mm-hmm. Everything's a gamble. Well, we've talked about that many times. Driving to work's a fucking gamble. But when you have feelings and you start mixing children and people and this and that, you're opening up lots of people to your love, right?
Mm-hmm.
The love you have for somebody can be twisted and manipulated through a lot of different people. So like me, and not that this happened to me, but I'll give you the example. I was with somebody who had children.
Mm-hmm.
So, once I was in and decided to go down that road of trying to make a pseudo family, I had feelings for my daughters. Like, I loved them. They're mine. I mean, I call them my daughters. They're, as much as they're my stepkids, they're mine. I mean, I raised them and they're just, I still talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put people in a situation of feelings and choosing sides, when things go sideways, other things are manipulated. Like your kids choose sides, or they, in my case, I was lucky, I still talk to both my daughters, but some people don't. And you get caught in another situation where, those are the things that change your feelings towards people, even on the way out. So this is someone that you were in love with, and things go sideways, and now there's different feelings. Like, I remember my ex-wife left, and my oldest daughter my middle girl, was still in high school and wanted to finish school. So I was like, whatever, you can stay here until the housing situation gets taken care of. My boy was like 6. So he was up every morning, getting ready for school. She got up, went to high school, was doing her thing. Well, she graduated from high school, and she had told her mom at the time that she would go and live with grandma after graduation. Well, she didn't want to. All her friends were near me, or near us where we used to live. So she wanted to stay there. And I said, look, I don't care, stay until the situation with my housing and divorce and everything got going. Well, she made her daughter move.
Really?
Which look, I see both of it. If you give your word to somebody that you're going to go there, you should, stick to your word. But I think that, look, I didn't have much time where I lived anyway. It was only going to be maybe 2 months before everything went sideways, and she could have went and moved with grandma until then. She would have got 2 more months with her friends, blah, blah, blah. So I see how feelings will change for people even after you've decided that it's over. Mm-hmm. So the person that you were in love with can make it that you now have absolutely no love for them, because they've gone against everything that your love was based on. Mm-hmm. So it's a rough thing.
That happens even in relationships that are not sexual. For instance, my daughter that I adopted, like, she has, she definitely did not want to be around me anymore. She made that very clear. But I didn't think that she could ever kill my feelings towards her. I had no idea, because I still talk to my exes. I still, mend fences with friends after years and years. Like, I'm not one that stays mad. If it's somebody that I loved, I will love them to the day I die. Mm-hmm. She's been the only person in my whole life that I'm just like, wow, you really killed my heart. Like, it's not open for business with you anymore, kid. Right. Like, I'm sure if she came back around and she tried, things could build and start again, but I don't know that I will ever love her the way that I loved her when she was young and open to being a part of me. It's just that she killed it. And it makes me so sad, because we did have a really good relationship when she lived with us. We had a lot of fun. It was not perfect, but it's just sad. It's sad that I've gotten so done with her. Like, she doesn't even allow her father, who was my ex, to talk to me about her. And I'm like, cool, don't talk to me anymore. You could have her. You could have it all. And it makes me sad because I didn't know that anybody could kill my love the way that she did.
Right.
But it was good until it wasn't, you know?
Right. I can see that, though. I see where you're coming from. I have someone that I would say I'm pretty head over heels for.
Mm-hmm.
She decided to go another route with somebody else, and it stung. But I also I was trying to be the bigger man in a lot of things in my life, not just with her, but everything. And I said, look, in my own head, I said, look, I know who I am. And if happiness is a weird thing, right? It's so hard to find that. Mm. And I think that you should jump at certain things. And if you feel that that's the opportunity, do it. But I don't think that I've lost the feeling, because I still do love her to death. And, but I kind of like you, where I would say my heart would be a bit more guarded. You know, if something came around later on, but I would definitely do it, because I'm also one to say that you have to live, but definitely more guarded. But look, you have to do what is right for you. And I think that's with everyone. My ex-wife did the same thing, decided at some point she didn't want to be in a marriage with me anymore, and changed her life. Awesome. I believe that if something would come around where my ex-wife was in dire need, and I mean dire need, I would help her. I wouldn't go out of my way, because she got remarried and she has somebody else. Mm-hmm. So I think there's something to that part of it. But it's the mother of my child. Mm-hmm. And I think all in all, she's not a bad person. Just like the person down the street, not a bad person. Just like other people that I've seen aren't bad people. Now, we can go along the line of what we started this off with physical abuse and or cheating. Those are things I would say 99% of the time should not be tolerated. Right? The physical abuse, I guess if you're stepping to your man and, like you said, you throw a trophy at somebody.
I really did get what I had coming to me. Maybe not at such an extreme, but I had it coming. I did. So I learned really early on, though, not to flex on men like that. I did.
Well, because you just never know when someone might snap off the handle.
And when you're in your 20s and you're a woman and you got a voice, like, you could really set somebody on fire. You could. And I did.
Well, and I think that those are the things that you have to be careful. Your choice of words. I know women who like to throw insults at people or throw verbal abuse of things that they know are going to sting them. Mm-hmm. Right. Like if you're throwing that your man has a small dick, you better be careful.
That's like something you just don't say.
Correct.
It's just stupid.
But women say crazy shit like that, which sets people off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So those are the things I think as you get older, you need to walk lightly on. Mm-hmm. Again, stay on course with what is really bothering you. The last thing, and men do the same thing. Like they'll go to their woman they're with and they're like, well, bitch, you're just like your mom, when they don't like their mom. Mm-hmm. Say crazy shit like that, where no, dude, like stay on track. You're mad because of this. when you start throwing verbal insults at people, those are things, things you can't come back from.
Well, especially with men too, because men, for me, in my experience, men are more one-track minded. So if you're having a problem with them and then you bring up several other issues, you've just basically set them up to be a failure. Like they're not going to come back from that argument with you because they don't even know where to start with that. And it's almost like, and I learned from doing this to my ex that they won't come back. They won't try because they're just completely fucked up in their own head because you just told them that they were. So nothing gets resolved. And that's part of the problem. Like you can't, if you love somebody, you can't tell them they're a piece of shit and give them all the reasons and then think that they're going to want to love you back. It's not going to happen.
Those will change feelings. Because now, and I do agree with you. I think men are a little more, and I hate to say that we're not like more Teflon, because I think men can take a lot before they snap. But I also think that there can be small digs that will ruin people. And you'll never know it. That
truly is part of the problem. Like it's the little things that build up that they kind of break down a man's masculinity, and it breaks down their who they are as a man. Like it starts to wear on them. And once that gets worn down, they're not going to be the same person.
Nope. I agree. And once I think men, actually both sides, once real feelings are lost, it's hard to get those back. It's almost impossible to come back from. I think because now you start finding the bigger holes in their armor, or you're looking for the holes in the armor,
or you're picking something that's going to become a bigger hole.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, because you're like, well, she said this about me. And then you're looking for like, what can I get her with? Or he said this, and now I have to fucking come back with a bigger stinger. And the next thing you know, you're throwing lobs at each other about what your anatomy looks like. You're like, you're who looks like this, but and then she comes back with, your balls are to your knees. It's like, okay, what are we doing this for? Because we're
just throwing digs.
Well, and then you have to question, are you really saying it hoping to get out of the relationship? Because you've already gone too far, but both parties have gone too far, but you're stuck in something because of whatever, a lease. And that's the bad part of that. The bad part of that is that you're fighting over something that's not even the root cause. Like you're not going with what the problem is. I remember one time I was with a guy and I knew he wasn't going anywhere. We were talking and all of a sudden he's like, well, that's it. I'm done with you. La, 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 la. We're breaking up. And I said, stop. Like, you don't mean that. That shit's not happening. Like, talk to me. What is your problem? And it was amazing because he stopped in his tracks and he looked at me and he's like, well, you did this. I'm like, all right, let's talk about that. Like, but what else is bothering you that you want to leave? And he's like, when he thought about it, he goes, after a while, he goes, that was the funniest thing you could ever do. Cause I was like, no, we're breaking up. I'm like, you're like, oh, stop. I'm not playing that game with you. You don't. And I told him, you don't get to do that. We're not fighting like that. Just stop. And that stopped a lot of commotion, but it was always like the thing that came up. Oh yeah, well, I can't break up with you because you won't let me. And it was a joke. It was joking, but it was also kind of serious because I was just like, no, you're not going to do that. Stop it. Right. But and I think that's honorable sometimes. Right. If you're with somebody and they say, oh, we're done. You go, no, we're not. Well, I'm not letting you out of it that easy. Because there's more to us.
Really stop it.
Yeah. But sometimes I think that is a good fight, right? There is a fight
because I didn't throw anything at him.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's a fair fight to go, no, we're not breaking up. but you better have the backside of like the great things that are, it's like, look, we're, you know, whatever it is, whatever your talking points are. It's like, look, stop bitching about this, and I'll stop bitching about this, and let's meet in the middle. But no one wants to meet in the middle anymore. And then as you know, erode your relationship, feelings will disappear to where you're both quiet. That used to be me in my 20s.
Oh my God, that was me too with my ex. I just got really freaking quiet.
Yeah. I would just shut down.
I'm not quiet. That's not who I am.
Yeah. There was a few relationships in my mid 20s that were not good. I shut down. I didn't say anything. I was just living day to day, you know, getting by, content. And I told myself after my divorce that I would never live content anymore, ever. You have to have a parachute to get out of things. I mean, with the exception of marriage. You know, I think once you step into marriage, you should.
You just need to be all in and do it.
Yeah, and you have to work. Like, don't step over that threshold unless you're willing to put in work. On the relationship thing, once you lose feelings, you need to parachute out before, because when you end up getting caught up in a whirlwind, it's like what do you call that? An undertow, right? The ocean. You get caught in an undertow, you're just drowned in yourself. It's no fun, and losing feelings for someone that you at one point were so madly in love and goo over, it's a horrible thing.
Yeah. I always tell women, if you don't want to sleep with your husband anymore, you lost it. Like, you should want to share that with your mate. And if you're not doing that, you've lost something. There's something that's just not there. And nothing that you could do is going to bring that back unless you change your view and your opinion of the situation, and you work on. That's not his fault. That's yours. You need to be responsible for your part. I
agree. Either partner. So if she's wanting to sleep with you and you're a man and pushing her away, it's your problem, not hers.
I agree.
Because these are people who are coming to the forefront of saying, look, I want to have an intimate relationship with you. We have to work on this. And if both parties aren't doing it, you want to talk about losing feelings quick. That'll
do it.
It'll do it super duper quick. So
for sure.
I think there's a lot to this conversation. Obviously, there are things that will press people's buttons to lose feelings. Like we said in the early beginning of the show, the physical abuse or cheating is quite easy. I think those are things that will push you in one direction or the other. Or it'll push you to change the feeling. Like, look, I think I'm to a point where I understand, like, look, if you cheat, okay, leave. Just go. It's okay. Just if you're going down that road, just tell me and we'll bail. Like, there's no reason to live a double life. Just say, fuck it. Okay, look, I'm not into this anymore. I gotta go. Okay, awesome. Hopefully you have a parachute to get out of that so no one gets hurt. The physical abusing, I think, is like I said, it's a one-time shot, and it can't be this I don't want to say predetermined, but this very straightforward, like, doing it to put people in check. Not like you said, like you threw something at somebody and it turned into something that neither of you ever wanted it to be, and it shouldn't have been. There are men who are just physically abusive. They're fucking assholes. And I have my own weird feelings on dragging people into the street and finishing them off and making sure that those type of people don't continue that. However you need to do that. Some people just need to have their face broken, and that's just the way it is. A mental abuse is something that is so detrimental to either side. If you continue to press these mental issues into someone's head, you're slowly breaking them from the inside out to where they don't think they're worth anything, so they don't leave. They don't think they're pretty because they've been told so many times that no other man will ever be with them because you have 3 kids and nobody will want you. I had a friend.
Maybe that's another show we need to do on what love really is, because love is not putting the person that you're with down in any way, shape, or form. And you may say, hey, I realize you do this, but you also do this and that. So maybe you should work on this, but just know that you're doing great. Like, you don't have to put somebody in their place to get control of them. Correct. I find that the nicer you are, the better you are as a person to them, and you show the example, they'll either be with you or they won't. But you're holding an example that they will respect. If you're throwing trophies or you're doing stupid shit or you're fighting, holding somebody down when they don't want to be, or being too aggressive, that's definitely not going to be beneficial to your relationship. No. It's just not. And if you don't hit them, get ready to get your ass kicked, because once you hurl something like that at somebody, you've got it coming. I don't care if you're a woman or a man. Like,
right. You're escalating.
I went too far, for sure.
Yeah. And I do agree with you. I think there's something to be said. Like, you can be nice. Like, I've listened to a bunch of different other pods out there, and like, every woman wants a nice guy until you're nice to him. And they're like, well, he's weak. Okay. But you don't want the flip side of that, of the guy who's just a narcissist and has you under his thumb, because then you're just a dick. It's a balancing point. You can be nice and be stern and go, look, no, I'm not taking that shit, but this is who I am as a person. And on the flip side, it should be that as well with a female. Like, be feminine, and that's fine, but you still need to stand up for yourself. And when you're not, get out of it. And when you lose feelings, get out of it. Both sides. There's no reason to hang on to something that you're trying to see what you thought it was before. Because when you're madly in love, it's easy to see how good things are. When you finally step into I think I'm losing feelings, you start to see the worst in everyone. So I think it's just a downward spiral. If you ever get to the point where you're like, ooh, I wonder if I'm still into this, you're probably not.
If you're wondering, it's not there. It's just not there.
Exactly. If someone goes to you and says, oh man, I can't believe she did that, and you go, I love her to death and I understand, but it's still up for me to understand that. The outside sources are very easy to manipulate people. Like I said, friends can do very big damage to your relationship. It's when you question it that I think it's already over. But you're right. If other people are questioning a relationship, it doesn't matter. They don't have to lay in bed with you or be in the same house.
Right.
But if you're looking at yourself in the mirror in the morning and going, why the fuck am I still doing this?
It's gone.
It's gone. It's far gone. And look, you'll rebound from this. We all do.
Yes.
But I think there's many shows that have come out of this. We got a lot of things on tap for the next coming weeks. I think it should be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, let me look at our little list of things before we say goodbye for the week.
And while you're looking, please check out our socials, Instagram. We're going to be doing Twitter feed now, Facebook, and
TikTok soon.
Follow, subscribe, and check out us on your podcast forums. We're on everything now, it seems like.
Everything. And hopefully, I think we're probably going to have to do maybe a live stream one time where people can just watch the show as we record it if they were in that. So let's see. Next week's episode is the internet making people more stupid.
Great.
So that should be a hell of a subject. Any last words for our friends out there who might be losing feelings or fell out with the person they were madly in love with?
Be kind to yourself and definitely make sure that you are respectful in your exit, because it doesn't need to be any harder than it already is.
Yeah, I can't top that one. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
And this is an opinion show, so don't get it twisted. Keep coming back every Wednesday. Check us out on all your podcasting things. And make sure you share, like, follow, send this link. Subscribe, send this link to your friends and family and let them hear our takes on the world. We're going to be notching it up just a bit here. So we're going to try to be getting some more interviews and all that kind of fun stuff. Until next week, I am Rob, along for my co-host Tina. As always, we'll see you later. Bye, Tina.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.